Am I the a-hole for telling my kids they aren't my problem anymore? My ex-wife and I got sick of each other about 10 years into our marriage. We had 3 kids by then, and we tried to make it work for their sake. It didn't work, and we divorced. I let her keep the house because it was the kids' home, and I wanted them to have some stability. I paid child support, and I paid for extracurriculars on top of that. I had to work a lot of hours to afford everything I was paying for, but I thought it was worth it. My mental health improved being away from my ex, and the kids were taken care of. I tried to stay involved in their lives, but I couldn't support them financially, as well as being there for every event. I made an effort to be there for all the important things: birthdays, Christmas, holidays. I also made sure that my custody time was sacrosanct. I would turn off my work phone and be present when we were together. But no matter how I tried, they got resentful that I wasn't always there. It didn't matter to them that they only got to participate in these activities was because I was sacrificing for them. They wanted me to pay for the extras, but somehow not work to pay for the extras. When they got to be older teens, I tried reasoning with them, but their argument was that their mom worked and still managed to attend. We grew apart and they cut me out of their lives. I hated it. I still made sure they all graduated from college without debt. One of them got a scholarship, so I actually had a little extra money to give them. I rarely saw them after they left high school. I have not seen them in years now. My ex passed away and I sold house. It was mine as per our agreement. She could live there for free until she got remarried. She never did. The kids were expecting to get money from her estate, and they did. After everything was said and done, they each got about $31,000. What they didn't get was a share of the profit from the house. That will fund my retirement. I disliked my ex, but she was a good mom. I never wanted to get this money this way. I would have been fine letting her live there another 30 years. The kids came to my house to talk to me. They said that they were all counting on that money. I asked why. What made them think their mom was going to die on vacation at 53? They said that it wasn't fair that I got the house. I said I owned the house and that their mom didn't leave it to me. As part of our divorce, I owned the house and even paid the taxes and for maintenance. They said that they could really use some help. I said that none of them were really my problem anymore. I hadn't been invited to their homes, and that I hadn't been asked to participate in their weddings. I attended as a guest. They all think I'm being an a-hole and stingy. I think they would not have bothered talking to me except for the money. Now for the top comments. They said that they were all counting on that money. I asked why. What made them think their mom was going to die on vacation at 53? Thanks for the chuckle. Sorry your kids suck. Yeah, I'm glad you called them out on that. Despite being divorced from their mother, while they supposedly had a close relationship with her, he is the one saying he didn't want the money this way and wishes she was still here, while they say they were counting on it. Which is such a weird response to someone's premature death. Even if they expected to inherit, it shouldn't have been for potentially decades yet. I can't imagine that being my priority after losing a parent. They said that it wasn't fair that I got the house. You didn't get the house. You had been having the house the entire time. Not the a-hole. Definitely not the a-hole over the house. You were not only having the house, you were maintaining the house and keeping it at a loss. So they didn't have to move and they had a more comfortable life. You paid for their college education, which isn't a small feat in itself. While you weren't there, you made it possible for their mom to be there for them. They have the right to feel estranged from you, but they have no cause to be angry at you over the house. I expect a lot of that is misplaced rage at losing their mom so early. And it's easier to blame someone you don't know well, but has expectations that weren't fulfilled. I wonder if ex-wife was truly ever honest about how their lifestyle was funded. It's very easy to afford and attend events when your biggest expense and worry is covered, and the luxury of having money for college is as well. What light did you paint OP in? Doesn't change that OP's kids are entitled a-holes. I doubt it. If the kids didn't realize the home belonged to and was funded by dad, and mom had very little estate, I doubt the kids were truly aware of what the situation is. They still suck though. Next story. Am I the a-hole for completely cutting off both parents for treating my pregnant wife badly? Hello everyone, I'm 32 male and my wife is 33 female. She is currently 4 months pregnant with our first child. So for the past 8 years or so, I've slowly distanced myself as much as possible. My mom is weirdly obsessed with hating my wife, like she wishes she was married to me or something. My dad is just the type of guy to take my mom's side on everything, whether she's right or not. He's also just straight up an a-hole. The type of guy that yells at retail workers for things that isn't their fault, lol. Anyways, because of that mix, they have hated my wife since we met at 24 and 25. Pretty much as soon as we met, I started to distance myself and my girl because I didn't like the way they treated her, but now I have to cut off all contact completely. About a month ago, we announced our baby and my parents have been incredibly pushy about a lot. First of all, my wife's mom passed away, so if it's a girl, we are naming her her mom's first name. If it's a boy, we're going to use her mom's middle name, since it's gender neutral. This was always something that was important to her. She was extremely close with her mom and has always wanted to honor her like this. I think it's beautiful. And the middle name, regardless of gender, is the name of where we first met. I'm not going to specifics on here obviously, but trust me, it's a cute name. My parents had to make a big deal that they don't get a say. My dad even said the words, "It's our son's baby. She's just carrying it." That ticked me off, because it's her baby. She's carrying too. I told them to give it a rest and my mom spent the entire night trying to guilt us into adding her name or my dad's. So now a few days, both my parents come over to tell us they both will be in the room. I told them absolutely not, because my wife already told me she only wants me there. My mom gets all upset that she needs to see her first grandchild be born. And my dad's mad saying my wife is selfish and thinks she's the first woman to give birth. I told them it's her body, and when it's one of them pushing out a child, they get to decide who's there in the room. By the time the conversation ended, I was so mad I told them to leave and not come back until they want to respect my wife. I kicked them out, and for right now they are not able to contact us as I blocked them from everything. Before blocking them, I sent a message telling them to not contact her, not step foot on my property, and stay away from the hospital when the time comes. Now, if they decide to change and be respectful, we would both cautiously welcome them back into our life. But for right now, all I know is my wife's biggest dream in life was to be pregnant and be a stay-at-home mom one day. There's literally tons of pictures of her as a child playing pregnant, and I really want this time to be something she can cherish. They were stressing her out, and she was already struggling with the fact her mom isn't here. The last thing she needs is my mom attacking her. We're also planning the gender reveal for 7 months. My wife wanted a bigger bump in the videos/photos, so we're waiting. And I was scared they would ruin it for her, so this gave me a lot of relief there as well. My older brother sent me a message saying what I did was way too far and it wasn't that big of a deal. But I stand by what I did. Honestly, I probably should have done it sooner, but it's not easy. So, what do you guys think? Not the a-hole. Your wife and child are your family. Your parents are intrusive and demanding. Not a good combo for a good marriage or life. Not the a-hole. Agree fully with this commenter. Recommend that you alert the hospital to make sure your parents and others are barred from entry when the time comes. Congratulations on the pregnancy. When did this thing of people thinking they should be in the delivery room start? That's just crazy. It's not a spectator sport. I agree. I was actually shocked they even tried. I was extra shocked when they tried to argue. The only person who has a say in who is in the room that day is the person pushing the child out of her body. Childbirth is traumatic and scary enough for women. The last thing they need is entitled people thinking they deserve to witness it. I mean, for us personally, my wife is already uncomfortable with the doctors and nurses who see it every day, seeing her give birth. I also talked to a friend who also experienced this with his parents. I can't even begin to understand why anyone would think they deserve to see a child that isn't theirs to be born. Keep on the path you are on. You are right to protect your wife and child. That is your family now. You have been patient long enough. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not putting the baby in the basement? About a year ago, my 16-year-old son came home visibly stressed. We asked him what is wrong, and he started crying and saying he got his girlfriend, who is also 16, pregnant, and they don't know what to do. We went to the parents of the girl, who had no idea about it. All of us discussed it together. The girl was terrified and didn't want an abortion, but didn't want the baby too. We offered that she can give birth and we will raise the baby for her. We want the baby and we don't want to ruin their lives. They can choose whether they want to stay in the baby's life, and we will not ask for child support. They agreed. The baby was born 4 months ago and she is just the most wonderful and beautiful baby girl. The girl chose to not stay in her life. My son wants to be in her life, but doesn't want to be responsible for her yet, which is fine. We finished the basement for him because we wanted him to be able to study without having the baby's crying distract him. Things have been going very well. We adore the baby and my son does too. Now, my older kids, 18-20, have been complaining that it's not fair that they have to deal with a crying baby while her own dad gets to hide in a quiet basement and not deal with her. They think that we should put the baby in the basement with her dad. I told them that I have a responsibility towards the baby and my minor sons, so I will make sure the both of them get to have a good and happy childhood. The rest of them can move out if they have a problem with this. They think I'm an a-hole and favoring my youngest. Now for the top comments. Let's be very clear here. It's not your son's child. You wanted a child. The bio mother and bio father did not. They effectively acted as surrogates for your child. You chose the baby. That's your right. But your other children are correct that you are rewarding your son for his irresponsibility. You have a new baby. It may cost you your older children's respect. You seem comfortable with that choice. OP finally got her little girl. I actually feel so sorry for the older sons. Not only do they know they've been replaced, but also their irresponsible younger brother is being rewarded for giving his parents this gift. So your 16-year-old messed up, and now everyone except him is dealing with the consequences of that? You're the a-hole, and a crappy parent to boot. OP's son already knows how to make a baby and must not be tolerated. I understand that she pities her son, but what I do not understand is why on earth is she still giving her son the baby treatment? Why not teach him to be responsible for his actions? When will he feel obliged when OP is not teaching him how to be responsible and just tolerating him? Edit. I have made my final decision and I will not change my mind, so you can stop commenting. If they think they're old enough to decide what should happen in my house, then I will treat them like the adults they are. This means no freeloading. Anyone over the age of 18 who wants to have a say in what happens at my house must pay $1,000 each month for rent, which is a fair price for rent where we live. Plus, they will be responsible for all of their own expenses from now on. I will not be paying for their groceries or their bills, or their gas or anything else. Time to man up. Whichever of them who can do this is welcome to live in the basement instead of my youngest. Needless to say, none of them has a job, so I already know what is going to be their answer. As for my youngest, I will support him however I can while he is a minor. As soon as he turns 18, he has to follow the same rules. However, I will provide everything for my granddaughter until he gets a full-time job, because her happiness is what matters the most here. Last story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to take down a small display of my deceased husband, even though new boyfriend thinks it's unfair to him? So my husband passed away late 2018. It was sudden, it was devastating, and I still miss him. He was only 33 and I was 29 when it happened. He had been my best friend for almost half of my life, way before it became a romantic relationship that eventually led us getting married in 2014. Fast forward to today and I've found love again with a new man, 36. We've been together for about 2 years, and 5 months ago he moved in with me. It was going pretty good until a couple weeks ago. This man has always been so patient and understanding. We had a bunch in common and would get each other's references to like old cartoons and movie quotes. He laughed at my bad jokes. Every now and then, he'd get moody when he'd want to watch TV with me, and I would get caught up in a painting or project. To be fair, this happens a lot. I don't like watching TV when we could do something else, and I have a lot of hobbies and just started a small business. I feel like 1 or 2 movies a month seems sufficient, and it's basically the only activity he ever suggests. I tried things like working on something in the same room as he watches something, but apparently it only counts as quality time together if I'm also watching with him. I don't get it, but this was the biggest problem we had until recently. A couple weeks ago, out of nowhere, he started acting very angry and insecure. He keeps bringing up events or statements he says I made months ago and accusing me of hiding things. I know that I haven't done anything I'd have to lie to him about, so even if I don't remember a particular comment I made last February or something, I can be sure that it wasn't anything meant to deceive him or mask my secret doings or whatever. I don't have the time or energy to be in a relationship where I have to hide stuff, and if it came to that, I would rather be single. Anyway, sorry, that was a long backstory. Back to the main point. In our bedroom, there's like a nook in a corner where I keep my business supplies and a tall bookshelf that I mostly use for general storage. There are several bins and like my sewing machine and of course some books. You can't see any of it from the main part of the room, but I use it regularly. Taking up maybe 1/4 of one shelf, just under a foot long, I have a place where I display a little urn with some of my husband's ashes. A mug he got me that says wifey, a little stuffed mini doll, and an infinity cube Aita created years ago that says I love you. Behind this, there's a picture of my husband kissing my cheek. My boyfriend told me last night that it's disrespectful and unfair to him that I have that up in our room because I'm not married to him anymore. That he and I are now together, and he shouldn't have to look at me with another man. I would agree with that if my husband wasn't dead, but he is. Am I wrong for being firm on this? For the record, this whole display is easy to overlook, and he doesn't have anything in that little enclave of the room, so he wouldn't have to see it if he didn't try to. Not the a-hole. You've got a late husband, not an ex-husband. You didn't break up, he died. You're allowed to keep reminders of your late husband around. For as long as you want, or forever. I wish my pop's new wife had understood this from the get-go. I might still have a family. Widowed person here. Woman, run. Anyone who demands that you banish the memory of your late husband deserves none of your time and attention. If that was all, it would be bad enough. But your boyfriend is showing classic signs of an abusive partner. Educate yourself on the signs and patterns, and make a plan to get him out of your house. And whatever you do, don't get pregnant. I have a friend who married a widower with 3 kids. She's been very conscious from the beginning that without this tragedy, she wouldn't have the life she does. She's moved some furniture around, repainted a room or 2, but she keeps the last family photo they took in the same place on a wall. They update a similar photo every year, but she's never touched the old one. They celebrate her husband's first wife's birthday, and she makes sure the kids see their grandparents and other family often. She tries to incorporate at least a few traditions their mom started on major holidays. She says that without the woman her bio kids know as Aunt Ruth, none of them would be here. And just because she's gone doesn't mean that she doesn't have a place in the family. I know my friend is a very rare breed, but I wish she wasn't.